We finished the week strong. Last week, we had Jackson Hole, which pretty much because of the Delta variant, figured it would be the market was kind of positioning itself that we really would not see a major announcement on tapering, and the market got exactly what it was looking for. There's basically a talk of tapering, but nothing that was definitive. Matter of fact, Powell basically came in and said that there's still some more metrics that he's looking at. So with that said, I think that Goldman is right on target. I think possibly the meeting after September is when we're going to see possibly the official tapering announcement. But I don't. I think the market's got pretty clear runway right now. And as you can see, sitting at all-time highs, finished really strong. The breadth on Friday was just unbelievably strong. It really was. You had on the S&P 438 advancers to 66 decliners. NASDAQ 2,324 advancers to 575 decliners. Just complete blow away, strong action, all sectors, all markets. So we're in a nice little active sequence, as you can see. So the SPY, if we go to the let's go to the monthly chart. Let me see if I can do a little clean vert. Oh, that's not clean for us. Let me see if I can. Okay, so if you're looking here, monthly, I mean, again, the SPY on the monthly, just higher highs, lower low. I mean, higher lows, higher highs. Just and we closed, or we're close at. We got a couple more days left in the month, but we're at the highs for the month. So just really strong action. If we break it down to the weekly chart, again, same thing. This wick, this long wick on this weekly chart proved to be bullish for us here. Nice bounce off that 9. So looking very strong. If we go into the daily, you can see just nice active sequence, and you can kind of see right in here that we're hugging this 9 really nicely. So again, this is a nice little value buy between the 21 and the 50 has been a nice value buy. Looking at tech, let's go over to tech. Tech closing in highs, looking strong. If we go here to the monthly chart on tech, again, looking strong, just nice action in an active sequence up. If we go to the weekly chart, just closed at highs, opened at lows. It's just nice, and these wicks in here proved to be nice value plays for us going forward. And the surprise was really the IWM. So IWM broke above that midpoint we've been talking about, broke above the area in here. Let me get into, we go to the daily chart actually. So we broke above the 50, we broke above this midpoint. So nice strong action. It really now going into next week looks like that we will be able to possibly get us back up to the top of this value zone in here. So it's been trading in this sideways channel. I look for the small caps to maybe take us up to the top of this range, at which point I'd probably be looking at a possible short situation. We'll see how technicals are going into that if we get that action. So again, looking at the monthly chart, wicks have proved to be the story there. On the weekly chart, same thing, strong week, broke us, back out from the bottom of this zone, got us back up into here. So we're looking pretty good on small caps. Going to oil, breaking down the rest of the market, oil looking, nice recovery off the bottom. So we've basically come back from where we dropped right in here. We retraced back up to here. We got the 50 overhead. So I think, I guess we'll be looking at China looking to Delta variant, but it looks like oil's poised to possibly come back up, at least in the top of this zone. So we'll see what we get there. As far as the dollar's concerned, the dollar kind of, a little bearish candle in here, still above the 50. So I think we'll still possibly see the dollar do its thing. Really, rates in the dollar kind of were just non-events on Friday. So you can kind of see the rates, the 10-year kind of came up to this double top up here. So we'll see. This is going to be an important week for rates. Kind of got rejected at this double top area. So we'll see if it comes back down here. So, I think with rates kind of pulling back a little bit, you saw a lot of just buying across the board is what the reaction was Friday. Buying across the board. They were buying bonds. Of course, that sends rates down. They were buying stocks. If we go to Bitcoin and Ethereum, kind of holding up here close to the 50. It's bullish action so far. Ethereum, same way, bullish action. So all risk on in all asset classes. So not bad. I think going forward, some of the sectors that I'm going to be looking at, healthcare continues to be strong. This is but what I like about healthcare, it had a nice little pullback into here. So I'll be looking at healthcare maybe to get going again. I like the financials. I think the financials definitely poised right up here to break out, kind of a little cup and handle formation going on with the financials. I like them going forward. I think that energy, again, kind of retracing back the area from where it dropped down to. I think energy can get going. And then I also like consumer staples. Again, kind of fell back down in here and to this range and can get going. And I like big cap tech. So I think, a lot of those areas looking strong from a sector standpoint. And it should be an interesting week in the market. So I want to hand it over to Nick. Nick, get your take on what you think about the indices.
Sure.
And then change this to the chair. There you go. You're up.
Sure.
And then also some stock plays.
Sure. And then you just want me to transition in stock. Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you pretty much summed up the non-event that was Jackson Hole. Actually, I don't even need my face down here. You shared you summed up the non-event that was Jackson Hole pretty nicely, and there was a couple other things that I wanted to mention. The Supreme Court did last week overturn the eviction ban. We'll see if that has any impact on either the workforce or the housing market. We'll see. That would take a lot of macro analysis to try to determine. But and then also there were a couple other things. Bespoke, and I'm just reiterating these from Friday for anyone who missed it, and I know, Mike, you weren't there, so some interesting stats. Bespoke came out with a pretty interesting stat that pretty much over the last week, performance was almost directly inversely correlated to market cap. So you had all of the smaller market cap stocks were actually running easily the best over the last week. So you were seeing a lot of value buying, a lot of bargain hunting, and so on in the market. We'll see if that continues. That's kind of going to be the question. Also, we're pretty much reaching the longest time that the market has not reached its 200-day moving average in 40 years. So, I think there will be and it's not even going to be it is a correction technically, but to pull back to the 200-day right now would just be a 10% retracement, which isn't that unheard of, honestly, on a yearly basis. But so we'll see if that happens at some point. I agree with Goldman's analysis and your analysis in terms of probably seeing tapering by not September, but I believe the one after that is November, the beginning of November, November 2nd and 3rd. Tyler made a good point that we have the employment situation this week, which is that's the big thing. Powell even said that there's much ground to cover before reaching max employment, and that's kind of the bigger thing that they're looking at. And so this Friday will be pretty telling, but the federal unemployment assistance, it doesn't expire until after this employment report. So we probably won't see any impact from that expiring until the next employment report, so which will be in October. So yeah, it's unlikely at this point that we see tapering on September 21st, 22nd. But we did see about on Friday, maybe about half a dozen Fed governors came out and said that they would like to at least see a tapering timeline established in September. So we'll see if maybe they give us a little bit more guidance on that. So that's not until the end of the month, though, September 21st and 22nd. So I think the market may be a little hesitant into this Friday, but I can't see the market expecting anything crazy from the jobs report on Friday because nothing's really changed. So.
Right.
We'll see.
Right.
But that, yeah, I mean, other than that, I pretty much had the same analysis. We'll have a couple of numbers this week. Chicago PMI, several housing numbers, but the housing market's been terrible for a while. Consumer confidence, I'm going to be curious about considering how low that's been. We have several manufacturing numbers, ISM, PMI, Philly Fed, or things like that. ADP employment, but who cares about that? So we'll have some more numbers, which is going to be interesting. See if inflation, how that's doing. So the usual song and dance, but we will see. We'll see. So that's really all you pretty much summed up, I think, the market as best you can, because there's no real issue right now ahead of it. We got through the week. We got through Jackson Hole, so now it's full steam ahead until tapering. So that's
Awesome.
where we are. Some of the stocks that I'll be looking at, I'll go through a couple different ones. First of all, I'll go through some of the kind of earnings follow-up plays that I was watching from last week that'll transfer into this week. 2 week stocks that I'll be watching. One is going to be Nordstrom. Had a nice little sell-off here from missed earnings compared to the rest of the retail sales sector. And then we had a little bit of a rebound on Friday along with the rest of the world. But I want to see if we fail off this 30, which is pretty nice support from in here. I think this one could continue on its way down. And actually, one thing I did want to mention, because I completely forgot, this is usually the chart that I like to pull up. The percentage of stocks trading above their 50-day SMA has pretty much started to explode through new highs. We're above the average on that, so we're starting to really see those value buys. Something that I wanted to mention because some of these stocks will be kind of in that thesis. Dollar Tree, another weak one, had 2 very weak days. Yes, last week off of bad earnings, broke this level. We'll see if there's continuation here. I'm just going to keep an eye on it because there could be an opportunity, whether it's going to be for a basing and then a bounce or for continued selling. Dix as well had some nice breakout. I want to see if this one can continue its kind of earnings ignition. It's had 2 very strong days. The issue here is that volume's kind of dropped off, so I honestly think that this one, if someone put a gun to my head and maybe told me to make a prediction, I think we'd pull back, especially since RSI has gotten up to 83. We might have like one more green day in it. 2 more earnings plays from last week. Peloton on Friday missed abysmally, really bad earnings from what I saw. I mean, just guidance was terrible. Everything looked terrible in my opinion. Had a little bit of a sell-off here. People were trying to dip buy this thing on Friday though, but they couldn't really last. So I think if we get through these Friday lows in here, these pre-market lows, I think there's some good potential for this one to come off here, especially since we've recently fulfilled our 200-day. We're kind of coming off here pretty nicely. So I might look for the continuation on that one. One that was in play 2 weeks ago and is kind of almost wedging back up here towards this breakout is Lowe's. Had really good earnings not too long ago, and it's kind of approaching this breakout point here, kind of holding nicely. Got nice measured risk maybe at these weekly lows. So I'll be watching to see if this one can continue for a nice little ignition through 52-week highs. You do have some industrial plays as well. It's not really industrial quote-unquote play, but it kind of is. First of all, you got a hurricane, so that should hopefully do well for Lowe's and Home Depot, potentially, at least in the South. I don't know if they have Lowe's in the South. I assume they do. And then they do. Okay. And then you've got a couple. The industrial sector in general looks poised to break out. If you look at like the XLI, it's looking good. Some industrial plays like AQUA Aqua is actually breaking out. So you've got some of those plays actually looking pretty good. Nucor has been kind of wedging up in here, so I'm kind of waiting for this one to break out as well. So that I'm hoping gives a little more boost to Lowe's, but we'll see. A couple other plays that are not earnings really related. I'll go through a couple day traders first. Gamb, exploded on Friday. This is gambling.com. I mean, they had a headline that they got like a license in Arizona, but I think it's more just manipulation to an extent, pushing around. This thing finished at the highs, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it gap up. Going into Monday, we'll see where it is by then, but this one was definitely in play yesterday. Had some good movements in it. SPRT obviously exploded on Friday
Yeah.
like a lunatic. But look at that end of day selling. So that's pretty telling. This one's probably done now. You obviously could get a dead cat bounce, something along those lines. But right now we're in this little pre-market channel. It's probably going to be even lower by Monday, which is unfortunate. But we'll see. This one will probably be in play. I'd be looking for the short now that it's kind of had its fun like that, personally. TCAT as well. The only reason I like TCAT is because I keep thinking it's going to fail off, and it's not quite. It's just hanging around here around its 200 day. And the fact that it's hanging around, not violating new lows, makes me almost think that they're about to squeeze this thing out. So I'm going to watch kind of this little double top almost that we put up here, see if maybe we can start stepping back up in here into the week, maybe through 13 or so, and then TCAT could get some more life. But we need the volume to pick back up. It's kind of it's been descending lately, so volume's going to be kind of king on that one. You've already kind of talked about the XLF doing its double top. I mean, you could pick banks too. Any bank like Goldman breaking out pretty nicely. So I think some of the banks are looking good. So I would kind of reiterate that thought there. A couple other plays I wanted to mention. DraftKings, obviously, 3 kind of whippy days, but we're sitting back up at the highs here. So I'm going to watch this one for continuation this week. We had a nice little breakout, did a little consolidation. I believe this was the last week of NFL preseason, right? So now that we're
Yes.
going into the season, I'd like to see if maybe DraftKings starts picking back up. Especially this is kind of its prime time, if you will. So we'll see how that does. A couple other interesting plays. I'm going to watch Tesla. I don't know why, but it's been so tight in here in this volume node, kind of in this little resistance area. This is pretty decent resistance around this kind of 715, 720-ish. That I think if the market starts breaking out and Tesla does go, it's been stuck in here above the 700 for some time. So maybe if volume picks up, it could go. Not my most attractive play, but it's interesting. AMD showed some life on Friday. Got right up to this
Hmm.
resistance here over the last month, kind of holding along the 20-day SMA right now pretty nicely. Finished relatively strong, a little uptick in volume, so it actually could break out relatively soon if we can get through there. Something I'll
Yeah,
be watching.
you had a lot of call activity too come in.
Really?
So
Okay, that's a good
yeah,
sign. Yeah,
a lot of call activity come in,
I
so it's
like that.
looking good.
I like that. So I'm definitely gonna keep an eye on that one going in. BJ's as well. This is one that reported earnings not too long ago, and it's kind of wedging in here pretty nicely, tightening. You got some ascending lows that you can watch, and it's getting tighter and tighter. So I'll watch this one for a break out a little further. Obviously, the whole sector of this kind of wholesale food is gone. You look at Kroger, you look at Costco, things like that. So I want to see if BJ's can get going now. Start breaking out some more. Disney showed some life on Friday. Fool me once, shame on you. But fool me twice, shame on me. I might go back into looking at Disney here. Kind of finish at the highs here. We already got through really, really good earnings that they took profits on. So if this thing starts approaching kind of the highs up here towards this 180-ish, 182, this one could be in play. But it's been disappointing before, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if it can do anything. I tell you what, GameStop's actually flagging up here right now. I hate to say it, but it's holding. It held $200 a share pretty nicely last week. Tested it like a good dozen times or so, and it's holding 200. So you've got manageable risk. You kind of can watch the higher end of this range that it was in, around that 210. And you never know. Meme stocks, if the market starts running and gunning this week, maybe we see GME pick back up a little bit, but. I wouldn't expect like a $500 run, but it might be something fun to play at least. A couple others I want to mention. Palantir. This is one that I know you were watching not too long ago, and it spent some time just kind of riding its 200-day SMA. Well, we actually closed at the high end of the range here. So if Palantir gets through 26, I think it could be. And you've got a lot of room for this one to potentially go. So I think this one's looking pretty attractive as well. You're seeing some decent volume in it holding up. So I kind of like what we're seeing on that one as well. And then some of the plays that report earnings this week, there are actually a couple that are setting up nicely that I'll definitely be watching. First of all, Zoom reports Monday after the close. I don't think we get anything out of this, but you never know. Tuesday after the close is CrowdStrike, stock that's recently broken out. We'll see where that one is by the time earnings roll around, as well as Ambarella. So this one's kind of starting to ascend as tight as the moving averages could possibly be. Just got over psychological $100 level. Maybe they run this one in anticipation of earnings. Wednesday has Campbell Soup in the morning. This is a food stock that's been beat down lately, despite a lot of the food stocks running. So maybe you get some value buyers in here after earnings. Chewy is after the close on Friday. I know we've traded Chewy several times in the past, and this one can be good when it's moving. Smith & Wesson, kind of curious about how their sales have been lately, so we'll see. And as you can tell, they this is what happened after their last earnings statement. So we'll see if we get anything crazy. Asana reports as well, kind of wedging up here. Really nice kind of resistance that you could watch through this 80. Obviously has already kind of run a lot, but RSI's cooled off since we've been chilling in here. So if this one picks up, could be interesting as well. You have SIG on Thursday, which has been breaking out, as well as American Eagle, which is another retailer with really good descending highs here. Retail plays, when they beat expectations, have been running lately. So this one on Thursday could be pretty interesting. And then Thursday after the close, you got DocuSign, which is holding up at highs, and Avgo, which is currently in the process of breaking out through some serious resistance here. This one just might be good, earnings aside, from a breakout perspective. If it can hold these gains and get over that psychological $500 level, this one could be pretty good as well. That's really it. I played and talked about a surprising amount of reopening plays last week. Obviously, Madison Square was the one that ran the most. We talked about the cruise lines, RCL looking really good on a breakout, some things like that. I'm not at all interested in the airlines yet personally, but there are some other plays like that I think are pretty interesting in terms of reopening plays, value plays, if they can hold these levels. The real question is just going to be, does the market continue to care about that stuff? So that's it for me, though. So I'll let Mike, if you have any other stocks you want to talk about. I don't know if you had any others, but you can take it away.
Yeah, no, I do. So, as far as reopening, I do agree with the reopening. I like this Live Nation.
Mm-hmm.
I like where it is from a chart perspective. Traded it last week a little bit. Actually did pretty well with it. So it's kind of right back above this area here where it tried to break out from. So I love these breakout areas where you get this resistance. They come back in, nice higher lows, wedging up, holding this 200. We traded it out of this range here, broke out, couldn't hold it. And then Friday they did hold the breakout. So this thing could definitely run, and I think could get a run up into 90. So reopening trades, I agree. And that RCL looks good as well from a reopening standpoint. Roblox traded this very nicely last week. This is one of our top plays. Came, nice hold in the 50, nice breakout of the 50. We talked about how this was a high volume node and would get caught up in some congestion in here. It was weaker on Friday while the rest of the market was just, seemed like every other stock was just running. So I will look at possible. I like the moving averages all being in here. I like how they're tight in here. So I'll be watching possible bounce off this 8370 area to see if this one can get going, as we do have kind of like a nice little base being formed in here. So I'll be watching Roblox because he'll be a pretty good trader when he gets going. From the I talked about the energy side. Oxy is one of the top plays I like from the energy side. It does have the 50 sitting overhead. So I'd be a little careful in there. You do have this nice little high volume node, this congestion. So it's got some work to do. It was good action on Friday, kind of, bouncing here. You had this little look below and go of the 200. So, I think this is one that if it can get, maybe not next week, but the week after, if it can kind of base in here this week, the week after we can get above the 50, it can start running up towards highs again, especially if oil is going to continue its recovery. Last week, I traded unsuccessfully Bumble. I still like this stock. I would like to see the volume kind of catch up. Hasn't come back in, so I'm a little And I'm not going to trade it unless the volume's there. You can kind of see monthly it is working on a wick there. The weekly is kind of in breakout mode here. It was a strong week last week, which I really liked on this stock. But we'll see. We'll see. It's not a high conviction stock because of the volume, but it's one I'll be taking a look at. Finally, I've been calling this this one all week with PAGs. Finally broke out of that area, so could keep on going. It was a nice strong move on Friday. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. You good?
Okay, great.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure I had something pop up weird on my screen. And yeah, here we go. You can see a nice break on this PAGs here. We were looking for this all week, finally getting going. So this is one that you can see the continuation. Etsy was a play that we brought up kind of in the middle of the week. Nice little bar. We were able to trade into this one. Now you had kind of Friday inside day. So maybe some consolidation, maybe flag a little bit. And then if it can really break above this level here, this 211.88, then it could really get going. So I'll be watching Etsy going forward. Upstart kind of flagging up near highs here. Nice, just nice ascension. We've traded this one very well in the past. This was a nice trader out of this zone in here, this nice sideways consolidation. Nice little gap up and run. So Upstart still doing its thing. I do, you mentioned Nucor. I like Nucor along the lines. I like this Dow. You had some strong volume come in. Nice little break above value. Definitely could get going. The steel companies and the commodity companies all had some pretty positive action on Friday, kind of flagging up here. I like STLD, Steel Dynamics. I like United Steel, kind of flagging and holding up at that area. So, we've traded those stocks in the past and they can really get going. As far as the financials, you mentioned Goldman, Morgan Stanley. I like Citi. Citigroup here, just nice at the top of value rating here. And again, look, nice little cup and handle action, kind of following that XLF to the T here. So Citigroup looks pretty good and looks like it could definitely get going again. As far as some of the other stocks that we were looking at here, this DOCN. Nice little breakout on Friday. Nice, it's kind of got going. The volume's been pretty strong in here. Nice little cup kind of forming, and again, closed near highs. So could be one that definitely runs. CELH as far as Celsius, kind of we've traded this one in the past. Kind of at the top of value here, so this one could be poised and setting up from a chart perspective. I like all the moving averages getting tight in here, and it looks like this one could keep on going. The lithium stocks, I still, this LTHM kind of held in here on the 9. We had a good little value play out of here. This one could keep on, it's kind of wedging up here, getting kind of tight, could get going. We'll be watching it to see, if it finally gets, a little action going. SE in an active sequence. In a nice little channel, holding this 9 really nicely. This is one that all of a sudden could just break out with a big bar. So I'll be watching that one as well. With the storm coming in, it seems like, Generac does well. If we get some damage into the storm, Generac is kind of a storm play and could really get going. But, it can also be kind of sell the news. And then finally, as far as the big cap tech, I like Apple still, even though it's kind of just hanging in here. From a fundamental perspective, I think, Apple, I like finally can maybe clear it away. I like DraftKings with the fundamental perspective of the NFL. We were in that, traded it nicely. And then Facebook, Facebook kind of, bouncing up, kind of getting up near highs up here. We traded Facebook a lot in the past. it's kind of like the market, nice value buys off of the 50. So, Facebook coming off of a nice value buy off the 50 here up towards highs. So Facebook is one to definitely maybe keep on the books and look going forward. I did like that AMD, Nick, that you pulled out. NVIDIA, we traded that nicely. NVIDIA just continues to roll. AMD finally playing a little catch up. We had a lot of call action in that. So it's one that I'll be looking at going forward. So that's the stocks that I've added in there. You do have unemployment, like you said, non-farm payrolls. So it's definitely going to be interesting. And I think you made a good point. I think non-farm payrolls, after the print of non-farm payrolls, Nick, after you have the government stimulus going away, I think that's going to be important to kind of look at.
Mm-hmm.
So